Supposedly we are, oh, there you go. Hello, everyone. Hopefully you can hear us here. My name is Rafael Bocino. We're going to be starting in a minute or two, just making sure that we're giving enough time for everyone to join us. And if you can hear us well, it would be great if you could just send us a message in chat so we know that everything looks good. This is the first time that we're doing the meetup live streaming to YouTube. So yeah, if you can just let us know that everything's working smoothly in your end, sending us a message, we would appreciate that. Other than that, just hang tight and we'll be starting pretty soon. All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Rafael Bocino. Thank you for joining us here today. Hopefully you're in the right place. We're going to have Mohamad very soon talking about from prompts to precision, building RAG workflows with Amazon Bedrock knowledge bases. Something that I'm really excited about. I was talking to Mohamad before we started streaming here. I was already making questions, which also is a good reminder that, hey, this isn't just a video on YouTube, this is live. So if you have questions, if you have anything that you want to share, please do use the chat window in YouTube so we can answer, well, not we, Mohamad can answer your questions. I'll be just working here to pass the questions along. But before I can leave you with the star of the show, I have some messages that I want to share. That's the agenda for today. I can just go ahead and skip that. Housekeeping. I was mentioning before, if you just joined, this is the first time that we're streaming to YouTube. So things can go wrong. Hopefully they don't. So hang tight. Let us know if the video goes out, if the audio goes out, if anything weird happens. Most likely it isn't just in your computer. Most likely I did something wrong. So please let us know in the chat if there are any situations that we should be aware of. Like I said before, I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, please let us know so we can have Mohamad answer your questions. And share away. This is live in YouTube, which means even though this is the Dallas user group, AWS user group, the Dallas Fort Worth AWS user group, hey, this is the first time that we can have anyone from anywhere to join us. So get the link, send to your friend. They don't even need to register at meetup.com this time. Just send that along to them. This session is not sponsored, which is cool because we can talk about whatever, right? There's no bias here. But even if it was, we love sponsors, but we don't adjust our conversation based on sponsors as well. And we would love if you or your organization, your employer, could sponsor our next session, right? We're super cheap. The only thing that we're asking for is a venue, chips, and soda. We're not asking for money. We're not asking for a big fat check. We're not asking for anything other than please host us in your office. Give us some bottles of water and some cookies and we are going to love you forever. We're going to have your logo here. We're going to bring people into your door. So yeah, if you work in a workplace that you feel like would be willing to sponsor us, please let us know, because we need help. We need help in different ways. We need help with speakers. We have an amazing, huge community here in Dallas-Fort Worth. At the meetup.com alone, we have over 5,000 people. I can only imagine that this is what, like 1% of people in DFW that are actually using AWS on a daily basis. So I'm sure you have something to speak about. You don't need to be an expert. Mohamad is definitely an expert, as we're going to see. But we would love to hear a story of how you got to learn something new in AWS, how you failed in AWS doing something wrong. Whatever it is, I'm sure it's going to be a good story. And if you want to practice your speaking skills, that's the best place to do it. So if you have anything to share, let us know. We are always looking for speakers. Again, you don't need to be an expert. Any level of both AWS knowledge and speaking skills are appreciated. We're here to help you get this opportunity to practice your public speaking and, of course, share something new with the audience. We also need help organizing the event. So Mohamad, if you ask Mohamad, he'll let you know that he had to keep poking me to make sure that I would set up everything to get this session going. That's because I'm pretty much doing this by myself right now. That's a good reason for that, right? We have someone that moved abroad. We had someone that was part of the team that is now working for AWS, and technically they cannot be part of the leadership team. So it's great that they are doing great. But if you want to help us put these sessions together, you might be really good on social media, and you want to assume the social media channels for the user group. You might be really good on putting physical events together. Right, you know how to make sure that everybody's going to deliver in time. Whatever it is, I'm sure you can contribute with the community, with the leadership of this user group. So again, if you want to contribute, if you want to help, please let me know, right? We already have the next meetup schedule. That's going to be August 7th. That's also a Thursday, the first Thursday of August, if I'm not mistaken. But we still don't have a topic, neither a speaker. So this could be your opportunity to go and speak about whatever you want. Otherwise, you end up listening to me again. We don't want that, right? So please submit any ideas that you might have, and we'll make sure to get you a speaking slot next time. We still don't know where that's going to be. We want to do this on a physical location, on a venue, so we can, as a community, get together, chat, exchange ideas. But if this works really well, and I think it's going to work really well, we'll try to make this a hybrid model where at least we can stream out whatever is happening in that venue. So again, if you feel like your employer would be willing to host us, we would really appreciate that. Let us know. If you want to be a speaker, even better. If you want to speak about something that you did in AWS because you work for said employer, even better, right? It's an opportunity to get your employer names out there as well. They're going to be happy. We are going to be happy. Now, I talked a lot. I told Mohamad that I would spend 5 minutes stop. I'm sure it was longer than that. I apologize, Mohamad. I apologize, everybody. But let's go here with the star of the show, Mohamad Charaf. Thank you, Mohamad. It's all yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. Let me just first share my screen here and get on the video. Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Rafael, for having me here today. Mohamad Charaf, I'm calling you here today from Dallas, Texas. So I've been here for like the past 10 years of my life. I've been in AWS for the past 4 years as a senior solutions architect. My specialty is migration and modernization. And as we all are learning the latest and greatest on Gen AI, I thought I would like to share with you my learnings, what I have been through. And today, I wanted to follow on a topic that I discussed or shared a couple of weeks ago in the user group in Orlando, the AWS user group in Orlando, about generative AI in AWS and how we use Bedrock. And today we're going to talk about knowledge bases, but don't worry, today's session is going to be fully self-contained, and you're going to get an end-to-end body of knowledge today. So we are going to dive into how retrieval augmented generation, or RAG, works and how it can help solve a real-world customer problem using the Amazon Bedrock knowledge bases. Let me first go off camera so you can get the full screen here. And to make this session relatable, let me introduce you to Sarah here. Sarah is a fictional but very representative customer success manager at a fast-growing SaaS company. Her day-to-day reality, she is flooded with customer questions, everything from product features to troubleshooting, and her knowledge sources are scattered, like all other businesses that we know. PDFs, internal wikis, old Confluence pages, even some outdated FAQs. And Sarah spends way too much time searching for answers for her customer instead of helping them, right? Her leadership wants a solution fast. And today, what we're going to do is provide a solution using RAG, as I mentioned. So in this session, we are going to explore how to build a smarter Gen AI application using Bedrock knowledge bases and retrieval augmented generation. We'll follow a real-world example. So we're going to build an application, a web application, and show how we can, how she can run for her knowledge into a Gen AI assistant powered by Claude. I'm going to talk about the models and all this stuff. So we'll break down RAG and how it helps model and generate grounded, accurate responses by pulling from actual like organization documents, as I mentioned. Then I'm going to walk you through a live demo. We're going to build the application together here today using the Bedrock API. I'm going to actually build a simple stringlet interface so you can get like a web application running. So yeah, whether you are a developer or just like curious about Gen AI, I believe you will walk away today ready to build something here. Before going to talk about RAG, I wanted to talk about the Amazon Bedrock. And Amazon Bedrock is the AWS service that provides generative AI. So it gives us access to models like Claude, Titan, Cohere via a simple API. And with Bedrock, you don't need to worry about infrastructure to manage. You just choose a model and start prompting, and then Bedrock will serve that. So Bedrock comes with 5 key components. Everything you need to build, deploy, and scale generative AI applications is provided to you using this service. So with Bedrock, you can use high-performing foundation models from leading companies, including Amazon own models and third-party partner models. So today I'm going to show you like a list of the models, and you can see like really like a huge list of all the models that are provided via Bedrock. Bedrock can scale cost effectively with a selection of consumption models and features, and models to balance cost and latency and accuracy. So when you are beyond the POC and beyond the demo, and when you are into an actual production environment, these are going to be very important aspects that you want to look at, and they are all provided to you. Using contextual information from your company's private data sources to deliver more relevant, accurate, and customized responses, that's actually how knowledge bases work, and that's the focus of today's session. And you can implement safeguards, of course, customized to your application requirements. And of course, Bedrock seamlessly connects with the different systems on AWS and with your APIs and data sources. So you, out of the box, you can integrate Bedrock with other services on AWS that forms your solution. And it's very basic model. If you look at the diagram on the top left of the screen, Bedrock is there. You send your prompt input requests, and it generates the output and brings it back to you via an API. So as a developer or as an end user, you don't need to worry about data science or data engineering. You just use it, and from your application perspective, and it serves your requests. So we keep saying model. Maybe you have heard about this or used some of these, but let me make sure we all understand. The foundation models are really large artificial intelligence models. They are trained on massive data sets capable of performing a wide range of tasks. So when you want to use a model, you start by data gathering. So a large and diverse data set is compiled from various sources. Any company of these companies that builds these models will first start by obtaining these large data sets. Then a suitable neural network algorithm is chosen. That's the heart of the model. And it's often employing transformers or diffusion models to take this data, and then goes to the training step. The model is trained on this massive data set using the self-supervised learning, many techniques. And then once you have a model, you can also do a pre-training of this model so it adapts and can be adapted for specific tasks through fine-tuning or prompting. So the models are available, and we use a lot of these. And one of the most important features of Bedrock is how easy it is to experiment with, select, and combine a wide range of foundation models. And today, when we go to the demo part, I'm going to show you how to actually test these or compare the responses coming from the same prompt when you send it to maybe two models and see how they act differently. So again, Bedrock's model offering has four major features: a set of leading models, as I mentioned, from different providers, the model evaluation tools to help you select the right model, the ability to import your own models. So if an organization has their own model, but they want to leverage the Bedrock as an ecosystem, they can import the model and use these custom models. And of course, there are hundreds of models that are available today from different partners on the Bedrock marketplace. So today I'm going to show you a list of models that are available already out of the box, but if there are other new models that are coming up, probably these organizations are going to provide them in the marketplace, and they're going to be available for you to use as well. When we look at any of these models, and when we look today at the console, you will notice that to use the model, you send a prompt and get a response, but you also have some configurations. And to the left here of this screen, you see that in the console of Bedrock, I can first select one of the models. So here in this snapshot, I used the Nova Pro, and then you can adjust some parameters like randomness and diversity and the length. So temperature is one of the parameters that you usually adjust. When you change the temperature, it controls the randomness in word choice. So the randomness in the responses, lower values lead to more predictable responses. So if you are looking for an answer that's really like factual, so you get to a lower temperature like 0 or 0.1 or something. But if you are using a model to prompt it to be creative and maybe write poems or something, you want to have the temperature to go near the 1 value. So it's varying between 0 and 1. So whatever you are doing, when you are testing and trying with models and writing a prompt and seeing an answer, always just change one parameter only and then do your test, and then change the second and so on. Don't change multiple parameters at the same time, because you're going to be confused which parameter was really like getting you to a better answer. I just wanted to bring this up here because when we go to the demo and hopefully when you start building your own, you're going to see these. So I wanted you to know that this exists in here. Of course, the length is a different one, and it's very important with cost management. So the response of the prompts are, you can control the length of the response or add a stop sequence, which is a set of characters or words that whenever the model generates as the output will stop, will not continue. So there are many other parameters. I just wanted to bring in the main ones. Bedrock, like any other service on AWS, it's available to you through an API, the AWS API. It's available on SDKs, and of course, it's available on the console. So the console, which we're gonna use today, is built on top of these standard APIs. And what you see here on the screen is just some examples of the Boto 3, the SDK that you can use on Python. We're going to use Python today. And it's showing you here a different ways to invoke or different invoking models for Bedrock. Although we are not going to go in details today on this one, but the previous session from Orlando, I went into details on these, and the recording is available, and I'm going to share it with you at the end of today's session. So by the end of today, you will have the two recordings, today's recording and the previous session on Orlando, which went through a lot of details on how to use these. All right, so now let's focus more into RAG. So at a high level, RAG works like this. First, the user asks a natural language question, so a prompt like what you might have experienced with ChatGPT or any other platforms, right? So with our example here, let's say Sarah would get a question from one of her team or something. How do I reset my API key? So they have an application and they are supporting this application, and they ask questions like very English or natural language question. Now, instead of the foundation model trying to answer this question blindly, making up some answer because it doesn't have a context, right? With RAG, the system first looks into a connected knowledge base, specifically one that we have built from Sarah's company's documents. So let's say we got her FAQ documents, onboarding guides, internal PDFs, or a product feature guide. The system then performs a semantic search, meaning it's not just looking for keyword matches, but actually finding the most relevant sections based on the meaning. And it returns those small content chunks, often called passages or context windows, right? Then those retrieved snippets are passed into the prompt sent to the foundation model. That model, like Claude or Titan, now will have access to this grounded, trusted content when generating its final answer. And this is what makes RAG so powerful, because it enables this large language model to answer with enterprise-specific knowledge without requirement of model fine-tuning. And model fine-tuning, I'm not going to get into its details today because it's going to take a lot of time, but fine-tuning is when you train the model even before it being used, and then you have like a trained model rather than the standard model. What we do here with RAG is you use the standard plain model that is available out of the box for you, but with RAG, you are providing these grounded content to make sure that the answers are in context and relevant to your question. So for Sarah here, it means that the GenAI assistant she's going to build can confidently answer the support questions using real documentation and reducing the hallucination and saving hours every week. And for you as a builder, it means faster time to value, less engineering overhead, and a scalable GenAI pattern that fits naturally inside the AWS solution. Before we can retrieve relevant context using RAG, we need to represent our documents in a way that machines can search semantically. So not just using keywords. And here's how it works. The vector embeddings are the key technology here that enables RAG to happen. So an embedding model takes a piece of text, like a sentence or a paragraph, like from these documents that we mentioned, and turns it into a high-dimensional vector. A vector is basically a long list of numbers, and I'm going to show you in the demo like an example of the actual vectors and how they are stored. These numbers capture the semantic meaning of the text. So for example, if you use a text like reset my password or how do I change my login, these might look different if you were just searching for traditional keywords. But embedding models map them to similar positions in a vector space because they mean the same thing. So we are actually using these embedding models to build the vector store and then use this vector store for the semantic search that would set the context for the answer. So when a user like Sarah asks a question, Bedrock uses vector similarity to retrieve the most relevant chunks of text from the documents, even if these exact words do not match. And this is what enables really the semantic search. That's the core, the foundation of RAG and all its powered embeddings behind the scenes. So I wanted to just make sure that we understand how this works, because when you look here at the architecture of AWS, this of the RAG in AWS, this diagram here shows you the full cycle of how the knowledge bases powered RAG-based GenAI experience. So when you look here, you start with a source content file, the FAQ, the product documentation we mentioned. We are gonna have them here uploaded in S3 bucket, for instance. And our demo is gonna use S3 buckets. You can use many other sources, but S3 is what we're gonna show today. From there, the knowledge base service ingests the documents and uses your selected embedding model. So we're gonna select one of the embedding models today. Amazon Titan or Cohere, they have embedded models to generate these vector embeddings for each content chunk. Those embeddings are stored and indexed in a vector database. Several options you have, like OpenSearch serverless that we're going to use today, Aurora, PostgreSQL, Redis, and others. And this enables high-speed semantic retrieval. So now we have our vector database populated. Then comes the magic when a user asks a question. Then Bedrock automatically retrieves the most relevant document chunks using the vector similarity, as I mentioned, and feeds those into a foundation model prompt. This is handled through the retrieve and generate API that we're going to present today. And the result is this response that the LLM generates using your enterprise data. So the user, whether through a chatbot app or internal tool, gets this answer back and embeds it into their applications. And we're going to build an application today. This is what calling the Bedrock knowledge base look like in code. It's really straightforward, simple. It's abstracted for you, so you don't need to worry about all the underlying mechanisms. But it's retrieve and generate from the Bedrock agent runtime client is what you use. So we pass in natural language prompt. So here, like the text prompt here, using the input parameters. And this could come from a chatbot or an application UI. And then under the retrieve and generate configuration here, we specify the source as a knowledge base. So compare these to other sources. So you can set it as external sources, but in our example, and when you are using the Bedrock knowledge base, so you need to have the type as knowledge base. And then we reference two critical pieces of information. The knowledge base ID. This is the identifier for your knowledge base. So when I'm going to show you in the demo, when we build the knowledge base, we're going to get an ID. We need to capture that unique ID to pass it through to this method. And the model ARN, the model that we're going to pass this information to in order to, as a prompt, and get the response back. So we want to get the model ARN, and this is the foundation model you want to use for generation, like Claude 3 or Amazon Titan. So with this single API call, Bedrock takes care of retrieving the relevant document from the vector store and then generating the answer. So you don't need to call like a specific like a separate search API and then LLM separately. It's all built in one call in here, as you have seen, and you will get back the JSON response that includes the generated answer and citations showing which document chunks were used. So you will be able to see where the answer is coming from, or where did the knowledge base obtain the answer from. So you can test it, you can cross-check it, make sure that your solution is bringing in the right information. So that was the part, and let's move from theory into practice. So I'm going to walk you through a live demo in two parts. Part one is all about setting up RAG generation using Bedrock console. First, we'll upload a few internal documents from Sarah's organization. Then we will build the knowledge base around the documents, and this includes selecting the embedding model, configuring the vector store, and triggering the synchronization to generate embeddings. And once it's ready, it will ask it some natural language questions, and we'll see how Bedrock returns the grounded answer. For today, in the demo, it takes like 30 minutes to build this step. That's why I built it beforehand. I'm going to show you how it is, but then I'm going to switch to the already built one, so you don't need to wait 30 minutes with me here until it's done. And part two of the demo is where we shift gears. We'll show you how to connect this setup to a custom application. So in this case, the application accepts a question from a UI, like a browser UI, calls the retrieve and generate API from Bedrock Agent Runtime SDK, and then Bedrock handles everything behind the scenes. It retrieves the relevant content chunks, passes them to the foundation model, and returns the final answer to the UI. The application receives both the generated answer and the retrieved resources, displays them whether in a web UI or the chatbot interface. So we're going to go over these two. Let me now stop this.
Mohamad, do you want to answer a few questions while you're doing that?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So we had a question on how do you test the performance of the RAG framework? As it's a language model, it's measured differently. Which is the most efficient way to measure its performance?
So when you look at Bedrock, you will see that it integrates with monitoring. So you can use the CloudWatch to monitor the underlying model, and you will see that when you actually run today, we're going to run a test of one of the models. It's going to give you the amount of time it takes to respond back. So all these are going to give you indication of how to measure the performance. Another thing is to when we look today, you are going to look at the Bedrock catalog. It's going to give you a list of models, and for each model, you're going to look at its specs and the size of the model. And then you need to decide when you design which model to use, the ones that are relevant. So a larger model, which would have more data that it was built on, is probably slower than a model that is like smaller in size. So you need to decide based on the use case that you have. And of course, there are more on that we can look at to when we monitor these. You can look at the inference profiles. You can build inference profiles, which helps us with monitoring and with actually tagging these inferences getting in and out. So there are many mechanisms that we can use for that.
Thank you. There's another question. Does it store both embeddings and structured data?
What's the question again? I'm sorry.
No, yeah. So I actually asked for clarification as well, and there was a follow-up question. Maybe that was a clarification. Let me go for that one then.
Okay.
Can it be used as vector database to store the vectors generated by the embedded model?
Can it be used as vector database?
To store the vectors generated by the embedding model?
Yeah, that's exactly how it goes. So the embedding model creates the vectors, and then they are stored in the vector database. And then the vector database is going to keep these vectors in there. And then the next step of the call will automatically use these vectors to do the semantic search. And I'm not sure I completely understand the question, but I'm going to show you today actually where the vectors are stored and which vector database. So maybe it will answer the question in more clarity.
Perfect. And also, just let you know, I wasn't able to put the screen in full screen for everybody. So your picture is showing up. If you want to turn on your camera, it's going to it's not going to affect the size of your screen. Just
I see it. Okay. Yeah. So let me just I just want to go over. Yeah. Here, what you see here on the screen is my console, and I'm gonna go to Amazon Bedrock in my console in here. And the first thing that you would notice here to the left is several features and options that you can use here. So we are gonna use the model catalog that I mentioned. You can do the chat and text playground, which we are going to utilize as well. And down there, if I find it here, the knowledge basis is what we are gonna use a lot. However, the first step, if it's your first time to use Amazon Bedrock, the first thing that you want to do is to go to the model access. And if it's your first time, you will not see all these access granted. You would rather see them all as available to be granted. So like available to request, like these two in here. And then you need to enable the ones that you want to use. Let me just make this maybe font a little bit bigger so you can see. So the first step you do, if you are going to enable these, so you can click on modify access and then select the models that you need or that you're going to use, and then click next, and it's going to enable them. For my case today here, I have enabled most of them that I'm going to use anyways, so I'm good. But I just wanted you to know that this step is only available from the console. So there is no API that can help you do this step. So you want to make sure that you get to the console in your account and you enable these. By the way, when you enable these, it doesn't necessarily mean anything that you're going to be incurring cost. You only incur cost when you actually use a model and you send prompts and get the responses. But it's to control which models are going to be available for you and on which region. Now let's look at the model catalog here. If we look at the model catalog, it's going to show you, as I mentioned, all the models that are enabled, and you can actually filter them here by providers. So there are 16 models from Amazon. So if I filter these, you'll see the Nova family, then you see the Titan family. Anthropic is another provider, one of the leaders as well. And we're going to use the Anthropic models today. So they have the Claude, Sonnet, and Haiku, and Opus, and others. And there are many others in here. So if I click on any one of these, so let's say that I click on Claude Sonnet 3, it opens the details of this model. Only if it loads, I think it's taking some time here. Yeah, here we go. So if you look here at this model, you will notice that it's giving you the categories that it can be used at, its last version, and a very important piece of information, the model ID. So the model ID is what we are going to use or what we need to use when we pass this along to any of the API calls. So when we go through the code and you see these, here's where I got it from. So you go to the model catalog and select the model that you're going to use, capture the model ID, and use it in the in your code. Another thing we're going to do here is showing you here the chat. So let's say that before we start, before we do anything, we just want to test one of these models. So I'm going to select a model here. And if you look here, you'll see that all the models that are enabled are available for me. So Anthropic here, and I'm going to use maybe Claude 3 Sonnet and select this one. It's going to give you the parameters that I mentioned, and then I'm going to ask a question. So let me ask a question that I got from a set of questions that related to Sarah's organization. And I'm going to ask the model with a question like without any context. I'm just asking, how do I reset my Gensoft account password? I didn't tell the model what is Gensoft. I didn't tell it anything. I just asked the question. So the model, if the model is smart enough, it's going to tell you, yeah, I apologize, I don't know what you're talking about, which is even better than just hallucinating and giving you anything. But it still try to improvise and give you some general steps. So it says, however, there are some general steps that often apply to resetting a password, and then it starts telling you something. So as you see here, although it gave you some answer, this is not the quality that an organization would be looking for. They would want to have like actual I forgot to click on on the screen on the video. Anyways, what I was saying is the quality that you want to provide is actually coming from data that this organization has. So that's how we are going to do today. So we can also compare models here. So maybe if you switch this on here and this toggle here, compare models, you can select two models. So let's say I want to compare how an Amazon Nova Pro would answer the question versus the Cloud Sonnet. So again, I'm going to ask the same question that you just copied here, and I'm going to paste it. And in this case, it's going to run on both of them. Now you can compare the time it takes and the quality of the answer. And then you decide whether you want to use one model or the other. Usually, you will see the models from different providers are having like different families of models that are equivalent. And then you compare these and see how the answer are. So as you see here, so Claude said, I apologize. Now the Nova model like just told you, okay, do this, and started getting some stuff to do reset. Again, what we want to do here is like put the context, and that's what we are gonna show. So our next step is actually to build the knowledge base. So I wanted to show you some sample files here. These are just like, fictitious generated files. So I have here an FAQ file from company called Gensoft. It has some knowledge base here, like how do I reset my password? And then it tells you how to do it. Does it support single sign-on? Can I upgrade? So some data that are resembling actual organization data. We're going to use this. I have a feature guide, and the feature guide is showing like what features does the Gensoft application has. So dashboard, user management, project management. So all the stuff that is available for us to build our knowledge base. A third one here is an onboarding. So if you have like a new user using the application, this is the onboarding guide, activities to set up the account, profile customization, team collaboration. So these three files I'm going to use as our knowledge base that we're going to build the RAG solution on top. So in order to do this, the first thing I want to do is go to S3. We mentioned we're going to build an S3 bucket, or we have an S3 bucket, and add these files to it. So I did this already before we start, so you don't just wait for me uploading files. But what I did here is I created a bucket, and I added the 3 PDF files that you have just seen into this bucket. This is going to be the source for our solution, or the source for answering the knowledge base. Now, the next step is actually building the knowledge base. So I'm going to go back to Bedrock, and in Bedrock here, I'm going to go this time to knowledge bases. Knowledge bases enables you here to create a knowledge base. So I'm going to click on create. And when you do this, you can create a knowledge base with vector store, as we are going to see today, or with Kendra GenAI index, or with structured data store. So I'm going to use the vector store in this time, and it's going to be for used for the embedding. And when you do this, you're going to give a name for your knowledge base, the description, and an IAM permission. This is a very important step. In order for Bedrock knowledge base to have access to your files in S3, you need to give it the permission. And this is how this service role is going to be created as an Amazon Bedrock execution role for the knowledge base. If you have run this once and you are building a second knowledge base, you can use an existing service role and just use it. but for the first time, you can, of course, create a new service rule. So this wizard here is going to create it for you, so you don't need to worry about it. The next step is choose the data source. So as I mentioned today, we are going to use S3. However, you could have used a different type of data source, like a web crawler. Web crawler can go, like, you give it like a URL for a website, and it crawls the content and uses this as a source. There is, if you are connected to Salesforce or Confluence, SharePoint, these are all available today as a preview, but they are available. So we are going to use the Amazon S3, and you can add tags for tag management and cost management. And we click next. And here you are going to select the S3 bucket that you're going to use. So here I'm going to select the bucket that I just showed you, and it has the files in here. I just wanted to select, it's the one, and I choose it. So it gives you the URI field in here, and then the parsing strategy. We're going to use the Amazon Bedrock default parser. You can use different types of parsers if your data is not just plain text or PDF files, as I mentioned, but if you had source data as pictures and you want to extract stuff from there, or you want to actually not just extract text, but get a way to extract, to get the model to understand the type of document as an ID or a passport or something, which in this case you can use a different service called the Bedrock Data Automation as a parser. But for now, we're going to use this one because it doesn't incur any charges, and we are going to use, this is the default parser. It's going to be good. It's going to read the PDF files and get with it. Then the chunking strategy. So remember when we talked about taking this body of text or knowledge or the files and then putting them into vector store. These vector embeddings are read into chunks or pieces of like sets of data. And the process of cutting these into parts is called the chunking. And there are many strategies here, several ones. So I'm going to use here a fixed size chunking, which means that I'm going to take, like, let's say, for instance, 500 number of tokens, and there is an overlap between these as 10%. So between one chunk and the other, there is just a 10% of overlap in the body of text that is being turned into the vector database. So we select the fixed chunking and we click next. And then this is the step where you select the embedding model. So now I need an embedding model that will take these data chunks from my files and turns them into the vector database. So when you click on this one, it's going to only give you the list of embedding models. So Amazon provides you with two embedding models. The Titan Text Embedding version 2, the latest, and then there is a G1 Text version 1.2. Or if you go to Cohere, you can find an English embedding one that only works English, and a second one for the multilingual. So I'm going to use the Cohere Embed English version 3. And now this is the model that's going to be used for embedding. And then the step for selecting a vector store. This step here, you can do a quick create a new vector store. That's the recommended because it's going to be created for you, or you can use an existing one if you have one already from before. And you have many options in here. So again, as I mentioned, OpenSearch serverless, Aurora Postgres serverless, or Neptune. I'm going to use the OpenSearch. And here you go. You can click next, and it's going to give you the list of the details that we selected. And I click create knowledge base, and it takes 30 minutes to get created. So I'm not going to click it. I just did this beforehand. And when I did that, it was created for me down here. So if you look down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see that the knowledge base that I created a couple of days, like on July 2nd, is there. So, and again, it tells you some information, like its status is available, it's using vector store and creation time. And I will click on it, and you will notice a very important piece of information, that knowledge base ID. So later, when we put the code, you will see that I need this knowledge base ID as an identifier for this specific knowledge base that I just created in order to make the call. Another part here is the data source. So the data source is the part of the knowledge base that we just defined the source link with the 3 files, and that would be available for this knowledge base. You will also notice one thing in here. You will notice that when you start the data source, it's going to be defined and identified, but nothing is going to get into the vector store until you sync it. So the first time you will sync this data source, now is the time where it's going to, excuse me, it's going to start the process and build the vectors and add them using the embedding model into the vector store. Again, I did this beforehand, and the data is now into the vector store. So if I click on the data source in here, it's going to show you more details about it. The source ID, deletion policy, sync history, that it was synced last time. It was synced was on July 2nd, and the status is complete. We have 3 source files. All of them were added, and so on. Usually, if you are building an actual enterprise knowledge base, you will have multiple files changing or something like that. So you need to have multiple syncs that you can run in order to get the latest or capture the latest and get them into embeddings. So and here down there in the documents, it's showing you the actual document sources and their status as they are indexed now. So now that is ready, before we start using the knowledge base, I want to go and show you where the data is. So I'm going to go to open search here. So I'm going to go to Amazon Open Search Service. And here I'm going to go to the serverless collections. And this is going to show you the knowledge base that we created, the vector search that we created from Bedrock. So I go there and I'll click on Open Search Dashboard. This takes you to the dashboard of the Open Search, and in the Dev Tools, I'm going to just run a query on this vector database. I'm going to get everything that's running in there. And you will notice here that it's showing you the actual data that we have added as vector embeddings. So you will notice here, it's showing you the first chunk, and it's part of the files that we provided. So step 2, define project goals and timelines. Step 3, add tasks. So probably part of a multi-step process coming from the file GenSoft onboarding detail.pdf. And then you will notice down there all these numbers. These are the actual vectors. And these numbers, these vectors in the vector store are the key behind the semantic search. So if I just scroll using this thing here, you will notice a second section, again, the next chunk and the vectors, and the next chunk and the vectors, and so on. So it's a huge set of chunks in here with all these vectors. So as you see here, the embedding model took the files, turns them into vectors, and save them into our vector database. So that's how we build this part. Now, I want to go and test what we have built so far. So let's go back to Bedrock, and let's test our model. So our knowledge base. So I'm going to click on knowledge bases, and I'm going to click on the knowledge base we just created. And here, I'm going to click on test knowledge base. Now, in this case, I want to select a model. And this time, it's not the embedding model. This time, it's the actual model that I want to use to get an answer. And I'm going to use, again, let's say, any of these Claude 3.5 Sonnet. And I'm going to add a question for it. So let's take a copy and paste the question here. How do I reset my GenSoft account password? And send it. Hopefully this time it's giving you an educated, like true grounded answer. So it says to reset your GenSoft account password, you need to follow these steps and it's giving you the information with, if I click details in here, it's going to show you where the query configuration, where the source chunk is coming from. So source chunk 1, and it's giving you the part from the vector database that had this answer. And if you expand down here, the metadata associated with this chunk, and it's going to show you the actual file that this answer was coming from, and document page number, and the source ID and whatnot. So it's actually not only giving you the answer, but it's telling you where this answer is coming from. So as you see here now, we are getting an actual relevant answer from our knowledge base. That's fine. So we created the knowledge base, we added the files. Now this is the time to use this from our application. So now let's build an application to use that knowledge base. Let me pause for a second if there are any questions or something we want to cover.
There was a question here, Mohamad. The question was how to handle semi-structured data. Example, spreadsheet with some numerical columns and test columns. Would RAG work for such case?
So you can add several types of files. So not necessarily the PDF files or the text files that I showed you today. I just selected these as a simple example, but definitely you can add several types of files or data that you have. You can even add pictures and binary objects in there, and then it's going to be that's the key why you are using the embedding model in order to do this transformation into the vector database.
Thank you. That was the only question.
Okay. All right. So what we are going to do now, I'm going to build an application, a simple one. So I have Visual Studio Code in here. I'm going to have a new file. I'm going to call it demo.py. It's Python. I'm going to use this file to make a call to my model, to my knowledge base. I'm going to start. I'm going to first add the first chunk here. So the first thing I do here is import the Boto3. Boto3, again, is the Python library that you are going to use to do everything related to AWS. So anything that you are going to need to call an AWS API, you do it through Boto3. Then here, the first section here is adding configuration. So a model ID. So I have, like, these are just variables holding the model ID. So I'm going to use the Claude 3 Sonnet, and I got this from the model catalog, as I have showed you a little while ago. The knowledge base ID is the actual ID that we have seen a little while ago when we created the knowledge base. And a query, what's the best way to onboard, or the question that we have been using, like how to change the password. So just adding this here. My next step is I'm going to create some clients in here. So first I need to get the region from my Boto3 session. So Boto3 is going to get my session, and from the session I'm going to get the region that that's being used. I'm going to use the STS to get the account ID. So I'm getting all the parts that I need to make the call to this API call. And then I'm going to create a Bedrock client. So this is the actual client that we are going to use, the Bedrock agent and Bedrock agent runtime. And these are the Bedrock clients that we are going to use to create the knowledge base. And next step is actually to make the actual call. So if you look here, I am using the Bedrock agent runtime client in here, and the model ARN is the ARN for my model. So I got the model ID, and then I concatenated into the model ARN. So that's the model that we are going to use, that we have in this variable. And then This is the actual call. So the actual call here gets the responses into a variable called response, but I'm going to call retrieve and generate, as we have seen in the slides previously. In the text, I'm going to pass the query, which is here, what's the best way to onboard, and then retrieve and generate configuration, JSON. I added the type as knowledge base. I pass through the knowledge base ID and the model ARN as we have it in there, and make the call. The call will get the response, and the last step will be to display the response. So I'm going to just take this response and generate text and print it out. So that's how you make the call simple, straightforward. Let me just run it in here and see the answers. So as you see here, if I bring this up, I made the call, and the best way to onboard with Gensoft is to follow the 5 key activities. So as you see here, it's really bringing the value, bringing the answer from the model, the knowledge base that we have just used. So that's showing you how simple, straightforward. You don't need to worry about much. You just make one call, retrieve and generate. You pass the IDs and the ARN, and you get the answer for you. All right, so that was how you test it. Now, I wanted to do like a more maybe interesting application in here. So I'm gonna do a second one. I'm gonna call it webapp.py. And in this one, I'm going to use Streamlit. Streamlit is a library. It's a Python library that helps you build lightweight web applications. It's usually used by data scientists to build quick applications, to show dashboards and similar. It has like great capabilities to build these types of applications. So I'm going to use it here to show you how you can build a web application and use the Bedrock knowledge bases in. So I'm going to import Streamlit and Boto, of course. The next step is I'm going to start building the UI. So here in the UI setup, I use the Streamlit library, ST, and then I set page configuration, page title. I set the title on the page itself, and then I use the Markdown to write the actual text in the page. So ask a question and get an answer, and it will be rendered in the page. The next step is going to be getting an input from the user. So I'm going to use the st.text input, and this is going to wait on the end user to enter some text. So here we are capturing the question from the user and getting this into the query. And then another select drop-down list. I wanted to have a list to give the user a choice to select which model to use. So Sonnet and Haiku, and I added them in here. I also want to add some parameters that we are going to use. So I'm going to have the knowledge base ID that we have. And the last section here is going to be this one here. This is creating a button. So the button is get answer button. And when you click on this button, it's gonna start like showing a spinner generating answer, and then it's gonna do the actual call. So here it's gonna do a very similar call to the one that we have just seen in the demo.py. It starts by making the call to STS to get the regions and model ARN and get a client, the Bedrock agent runtime, and then we are going to the last section here, we make the same call to retrieve and generate. We passed through the same values, the parameters, and we get the generated text. This time, we're going to add the generated text into an st.write, which will present it into the page. So as you see here, again, very simple way to build a web application. If you are running a demo, this would be good. If you are running an actual application, of course, you will need to abstract this into a middle tier layer. You can use Lambda functions. You can use many other like better architected solutions in there. But again, at the end of the day, that's the essence of it. That's how you can build an application quickly that's really like going to be used. So I'm going to save this one in here, and I'm going to run it. In order to run this, you run using the streamlit run, and then I'm going to give the web app.py, which will create an HTTP server and serve this page out of it. So let's see. So as you see, it created a web server, and it fires up the browser, and it shows you the page. So again, Bedrock knowledge base, the same text that we did. Enter your question. So let me add the same very question we have been using, or maybe something else. What does the GenSoft dashboard include? Let's say that we are going to ask this question. And in this time, I have two foundation models, the ones that I had, and I'm going to click get answer. And it's going to go make the call from the model and brings the answer back to you on the screen. So it says it has these features, the visual summary, customizable widgets, whatever. These were coming from the files that we have. Another answer, how do the same one that we have been using. Let's see, and get answer. And it's gonna generate the answer for you. You can actually, let's try Haiku, giving you a different type of answer. So again, a good way to build an application quickly and find some value out of it. All right, so that's what I had for today. I hope this was helping in getting an idea of how to build RAG into your application. I think it's not difficult, giving all these APIs available for you to use and the SDK. And I wanted to show you some resources that I have in here. So again, if you go to the, I added these recordings. So this is the previous recording from Orlando, and this is going to be today's recording. Both are in this link, and this link is having, like, I put all the resources, so you'll see other resources like code snippets and whatnot. You can use this, either you scan it using your phone, or you use the link. And Rafael, I think you're going to be sharing all this later, maybe, or you'll find it on YouTube anyways. This is more resources in here. So you can look at the Bedrock Developer Guide, Bedrock Hands-on Workshops. The workshops, these are available from Amazon AWS. It's open to the public, and you can actually follow these to build generative AI applications with Lambda, with the API Gateway, and Bedrock. So really, like, very good resource for running labs. Pricing page, of course, to understand it's the paper token pricing and how these options are. That's important, because when you use these models, you will see costs coming in. And the Bedrock GitHub samples, you will see real like code samples using Python and knowledge bases and others. So I'm really like encouraging you to explore more of that and try building a RAG solution similar to what we did today. And yeah, and let's open for any questions that we have.
Thank you so much, Mohamad. I love this session. I was telling people in chat how awesome it was to see how easy it was to go from having a PDF with FAQ to a web page that one can go enter, type a question, and get an answer. Love it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me here. So do we have any questions?
Yes, we do, actually.
Okay.
We have one here. The question is, when chunking these documents, do we need to manually split up them semantically, or can we just split them up by the number of tokens?
So as you have seen, there are multiple ways to do the chunking. So let me go back to it. And do you see my screen? I need to share my screen again, right?
No, yeah.
Give me a second. I'm going to share my screen one more time. And knowledge bases in here. Where did we? Okay. Just give me 1 second. here. The chunking, you have multiple ways to do chunking. So there is a fixed size chunking. That's what I chose today to split it, because I have like this few files, and I just wanted to do like a fixed one with a fixed token size. But then there are other ways. So as you see here, there is a semantic chunking. There is a hierarchical chunking. So there are many ways, many options that you can use to actually do this vector embedding into the vector database.
Thank you. I hope that answers the question. There is another question here. Is there a way to create a web app or user interface to the end user without any code, i.e. uploading PDFs into knowledge base and having people within my team access it?
So you are looking at the question here is looking at like an out of the box SaaS solution that you just give it some files and it builds for you. So the way that Amazon AWS provides the services are sort of like building blocks for developers and for our partners and for our end customers to build things. We cannot build every single use case that you can think of, but we give you the APIs, the SDKs, the capabilities, and then there is the layer of developers and builders and solutions architects who build these types of solutions. If you're looking for a SaaS solution, now you need to look at what the partners provide. So in this morning today, I was talking to one of our partners for like they were showing a demo of what they can build, and they were building Gen AI related stuff. So an application for instance, for insurance companies that takes a picture of a car accident and comes up with a list of costs of repair and whatnot. So you will see a lot of different solutions that partners will provide. Maybe that's answering the question.
Thank you. I actually have one question. Maybe you talked about that and I missed it. And if that was the case, I apologize. But how do you make sure that the knowledge base is up to date? That it's if I have new data there, how to make sure that it's being processed?
Yes. So if you let me share my screen again. Sorry, I keep stopping the share so we can focus on speaking. But okay, if I go back here to the screen in the knowledge base, and if you go to your knowledge base and look at the data source, you will notice that there is a sync button. The sync button here is the key that the button that you need to press every time you change the data. So let's say that your data sources are changing every day, coming from different sources, and you are having them in this S3 pushed once every 24 hours or something. Then you can click the sync here, and it's going to update the vector database. By the way, since we are here, everything that we have done through the console today is doable through the APIs and the SDK. Because I believe your next question would be, do I need to click this manually every day? And the answer is no, you do not. What you need to do is, if you have this need, then you can put like a cron job or something, a Lambda function, and it's going to trigger the sync and once every 24 hours. Or you can embed this actually into a solution. So let's say that your solution is including the part where you upload more files to your data source. Then once you click the upload, the next step would be to trigger this sync. And the sync is going to take the files into the vector database and the embeddings and whatnot.
Yeah, in my mind, I already had file was put on the bucket, triggers a Lambda function that goes and it calls that sync.
Here you go. And from an implementation perspective, it's really straightforward, easy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So yeah,
makes sense. Does it go? Does it just throw away everything and rebuild from scratch, or just append to what is there?
No, it depends. So if you look here, if we look at the details in here, let me just go there. You'll notice down there that you have source files added, deleted, modified. So whenever you upload a file, if you upload the file to S3 and it's updating the file, not changing the file, you're gonna see here that modified files are now 1 or 2 or 3. So If you modified one
That's
file,
awesome.
it does not take everything down and start over, but it's gonna do the modification only.
That's so easy. I remember when I tried Bedrock for the first time, right before it was launched, or right after, better saying. And I remember that I didn't know the first thing about anything that just talked today, right? And even knowledge base wasn't a thing.
Yep.
But I remember going to the chat that you can access in the UI, and I asked Amazon Bedrock, hey, how do I use Amazon Bedrock?
Yes.
And Bedrock was so new that it didn't know about Bedrock, because the training data for that model that I picked, that I don't remember what it was, didn't know anything about Bedrock, right? So he started to talk about Minecraft with me. I was super confused for a moment.
Yes, yes.
So I had to learn what RAG was, and it was definitely harder to do RAG before knowledge base. So I'm really glad that I learned knowledge base today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No, that's true. There are many options that you see on the left here. So you see guardrails, flows, agents, a lot of things. Like there is great initiatives to add more and more services in here. So yeah, there is a lot of things to make our developers' lives easier.
Yes, thank you, thank you, AWS. There is another question to not make your life easier. Does Bedrock use the prompts and outputs for retraining the foundation models? And can we set up Bedrock to keep data private to an organization, for example?
Yes, and the answer is no. That's why you are using RAG. So when you use RAG, you are not retraining the model. If you want to retrain the model, then you do the fine tuning, which will actually build a new model, new trained model out of the actual the base model that you have. The reason you are using RAG is you want to use the base models as is. You don't want to change them. You just want to use your vector database now to add to the context and send this with a prompt to the model, as we have shown in the diagram in the beginning of this session, if you remember.
Yeah, that makes sense. Another question here is, and they say that's slightly unrelated, but if I want to perform analysis on tabular CSV data, can I do that through some AWS service?
I believe there are many services that has to do with the data analysis. Maybe I'm not the best person to answer this question, but 100% I'm sure there is some solution for that. That if maybe you can do like a quick search, you have to find something, because by the way, like data analysis and data analysis tools have been there for years and years. So yeah. I'm sure there is something that would help.
Yeah, I've used QuickSight in the past, and it was really easy to visualize data, and it made it easy for me to understand the data. And I know there were recent updates to it that I can only assume that there is some AI magic there that I can then just ask questions about the data, I'm sure.
Here you go.
Yeah. Do we have any other questions? I don't think so. So I guess before I close the session, Mohamad, again, thank you so much for making yourself available for the session, for being here for this great session. I learned a lot based on the questions. I'm sure the audience also learned a lot. We had a 20-something people listening to you live. I hope that many more are going to watch the recording. Again, thankful. I'm really thankful. Thank you so much. But I want to pass you the mic. And is there anything that you want to let people know about you, how to follow you, where they can learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and time to speak to our community here. And I believe that we need to do more, and we have more and more sessions. And again, if you want to reach out to me, you can find me on LinkedIn. All my details are in the link that is on the link app. So the QR code or the URL. Please add me to LinkedIn if you want to reach out with any more questions. I would be happy. And Rafael, again, I would be happy to meet in person. Like if we have a next session or something, or even like a social meetup to see all these magnificent people who joined us today, that would be great. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do it. So as a reminder, we're going to meet again in about a month, August 7th. It's also a Thursday. I think it's the first Thursday of the month. Yeah, of course it is. It's the 7th. And we're hoping to do it in person this time. And that means we need your help. If you work in an employer that would be happy to have us, we would be happy to be there, right? Just let us know if you can support the community that way. And if you want to be a speaker, this is a reminder. We are always looking for speakers. Again, Mohamad is an expert. We learn a lot from him, but you don't need to be an expert. You can come here and just tell your story. Just tell something that you learned here doing whatever in AWS, something that you learned failing in AWS. Whatever you want to talk about is completely fine. Mohamad, once again, thank you so much for being here today. This awesome audience that was really active in the chat. Thank you so much for being with us today, and I hope to see you in person in about a month. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.